Hey guys, welcome back to Nelly Nummies. Now, Thanksgiving is right around the corner, which means it's pie time. Pies can be had any time of year, but I don't know about you guys, but something about autumn makes me crave pie. Partially because that's just a Thanksgiving tradition in my family, but I don't know, cold weather, warm pie, seems to go together quite well. Today's flavor we're making is a good old-fashioned cherry pie, and we're going to be making our own pie dough today. But if you don't have time for that or just don't feel like making your own pie dough, go ahead and buy a store-bought pie crust and use that instead. Now, if you want to make your own pie dough, we're going to need 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, about half a cup of ice cold water, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of sugar, about a tablespoon of white vinegar, and the most important ingredient you need is butter. A nice cold butter. One of the important things with pie dough is you want to keep everything cold until it's time to bake. If you don't feel like using butter, you can use shortening or Crisco, but today I like the flavor of butter, so that's what we're using. Let me bring you guys in closer and I'll show you how to make this. To start out our pie dough, we're gonna cut our 1 cup of cold butter into small little cubes. You want these cubes to be pretty small, about 1/4 to 1/2 inch big, so that it's easier to rub them into the flour mixture. Next, we'll need 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and then we're going to mix that together into the flour. Set that aside. We're also going to take our cold water and add 1 tablespoon of white vinegar to that. Mix it up. Then we're going to take our flour mixture and add our cubes of cold butter to that. You can use a knife to cut the butter into the flour, or you can use your fingers like me and just smush the butter so it's very small crumbly bits rubbed into the flour, and you can scrunch it together and it forms a ball. Then we're going to make a well in the middle of our flour mixture and pour our cold water into it, and then we're going to mix that until it forms into a ball of dough. This can take a minute or two of mixing to kind of get all the flour saturated. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty too. Just kind of fold the dough over itself, trying to collect all the little bits of flour that are hiding on the bottom of the bowl. There you go, form it into a ball, smush it together, make sure everything's sticking. There you go. We're gonna cut the pie dough in half, so it's 2 equal pieces, and then we're gonna flatten that into a round disc about 1 inch tall, maybe less, and wrap it in plastic wrap, refrigerate it for about 1 to 2 hours, or put it in the freezer for about 15 to 30 minutes. We're going to make our own cherry pie filling by using 24 ounces or 6 cups of tart cherries, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch or corn flour. Dump all this into a large saucepan and give it a good mix. And you want to heat this to about medium-high heat. Once the pie filling is starting to bubble and thicken up a little bit, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of butter and 1/2 teaspoon of almond extract. This part's optional. And give it a good stir to mix and melt the butter. The pie filling is ready when it's a nice thick consistency and it doesn't run off your spatula so easily. We're gonna let this cool for about 1 to 2 hours until it's room temperature. Now back to our pie dough, we're going to take our chilled disc of dough, unwrap them, and place them on a lightly floured surface, or you can use a silicone mat like what I'm using. I like to leave the plastic wrap on top just so that my rolling pin doesn't stick. And then you just smash lines into it, or dents, kind of like what I'm doing. This helps kind of spread the dough out a little easier rather than just doing the constant rolling motion. Though occasionally I'll smooth out the surface by rolling. Do this until you get to about 11 to 12 inch size disc. You can use your pie plate to check if your pie crust is large enough, and if it is, then we're going to slowly peel it away from the work surface. I end up having to use a spatula to scrape away the dough. I like to roll the dough over the rolling pin just to make it easier to transfer it to the pie plate. And then we're going to carefully pat the pie dough into the pie plate, smoothing out the bottom and up the edges so there's no little air bubbles or pockets. We're going to chill this in the fridge while we roll out the other sheet of dough. Once you have your dough rolled out, we're going to take our pie filling that we made earlier and place it into the pie plate, into that bottom crust. Get all that goodness in there, spread it out evenly. And then we're going to take our top crust that I had chilling in the fridge while I waited, carefully place it over the top, and then try and press it into the pie plate a little bit, smoothing it out so it just sits flat over your filling. Tuck it in. I like to tuck the edges of my top crust behind the bottom crust and pinch it in there just to get a nice seal so I don't lose any filling. But you can just cut off the excess top crust if you want. Next, we're going to take our fingers and we're going to pleat the pie crust. This helps seal it and also makes it look pretty. Kind of hard to explain in words how to do this other than pinching the pie crust. You can also just use a fork and smash the top pie crust across the rim of the pie plate. Next, we're going to cut air vents into the top crust. This allows the steam to escape from inside the pie so we don't have a big explosion. I just like to do 4 little cuts across the top. But feel free to get creative with your patterns or even use a cookie cutter to cut out specific shapes. Next is our egg wash. This part is totally optional. You will need 1 tablespoon of water and 1 whole egg. Crack them and mix them together, whisk it up nicely. And then we're going to use a pastry brush and we're going to brush the top of the crust with our egg wash. This gives it a nice golden brown color, but you can skip this step if you don't want to use any eggs. Then we're going to add about a tablespoon or 2 of granulated sugar on top. This is also optional, but it kind of helps give it a nice little glisten and sparkle. Then we're going to place our pie plate onto a rimmed baking sheet that's lined with a silicone mat or parchment paper. And we are going to bake this for 450 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. Then drop the temperature to 350 degrees and bake for another hour, hour and a half, or until it's golden brown. And here we have it, our cherry pie that we made all by ourselves. And completely from scratch too. Though there's nothing wrong with taking a shortcut. If you need to use cherry pie filling from the store, go ahead. If you want to use store-bought pie dough, go ahead. I know pie dough can be a bit of a pain sometimes. Nothing wrong with a shortcut. Either way, you're making it yourself. It's being made with love and it will be very tasty. Now I won't be cutting in this tonight, but it needs to cool for a few hours. Probably about 3 to 4, preferably overnight if you have time. Also, I'm serving this at an early Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow with my family, so I'll take some pictures of it there for you guys to show you what it looks like on the inside. But I look forward to seeing how you guys' pie turns out. Let me know what your favorite pie flavor is in the comments below. I know cherry isn't everybody's flavor, but you can use the same recipe and put different fillings inside. I look forward to cooking with you guys again. Remember, please be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I look forward to the next time we can cook together. Bye guys!